The student welfare poster has been taped back up beside the pass in a different place. The signature still shines. Under it, someone has written with a chinograph pencil, "Tag travel trap." The handwriting is Boosie's. Naledi will hate it. She arrives right on cue with 2 sun girls and a moon boy trailing her like satellites. Clean uniform, hair like a line drawn with a ruler, ankle bandage the exact shade of persuasion. She reads the chinograph line and lets her lip move half a centimeter. "You're writing on the wall like kids," she says. "We have to live in this building too." "Write on your people then," Boosie says. "They move tags. We die." Naledi looks at me. Her mouth is gentle. "You ever think your mouth is why the building likes you?" she asks. "Holes admire holes." "I'm a person," I say. "My friends make sure I stay that way." She glances at Kwanda. The glance is the weight of a sentence she won't say with witnesses. He doesn't return it. That is the worst insult she knows. "Enjoy your boredom," she says, and leaves, carrying a plate she didn't ask for and won't eat. The aunties do not notice her theft. They are busy keeping people alive with onions. The laundry stair pings the radio. Just one note, the kind that means come look, not come run. Earth Knight stands in the ringed step with shears. The hair we cut earlier learned to grow a cousin. Not the same line. A knot tied around the handrail base, tidy, waiting for a foot to trip and a hand to grab, and a line to do what lines do when proud boys find them. "Whoever is laying these likes hands," Boosie says. "They want us to grab." "We don't grab," Thandi says. "We point and cut." We chalk arrows at ankle height and at knee height and at hand height. The stairs look like a lesson plan. Good, let them be ugly. Ugly saves. At the landing, a chair sits in a doorway like a friend. That's our loop, showing off. We mark the dumbwaiter, not a mouth, again for luck. Chalk turns the metal white around the lip. White on white, still, it matters. The building tries one more small trap before the storm commits. The ceiling in the east wing sags a finger width over a short corridor. No dust yet. No water. Suspicious. We slow. Boosie taps the plaster with a knuckle and gets a note that says somebody wants to be a hole. "Left," I say. "That means me. I warn." "Right," Kwanda says. "That means him. He sets a mug under the sag, so if a piece chooses to fall, it lands slow. It doesn't fall. It waits like a mouth, pretending to be a lip. We step under without touching. We mark the sag with calm maint and not a mouth. The chalk squeaks. The sound sets my teeth on edge. Good. I want my body to remember that squeak when I dream. We pass each other shoulder to shoulder, both of us careful about no second touches. The rule is hot between us. We keep our hands. "You keep wanting to save the day with your face," he says, low. "You keep wanting to hold it still with your hand," I say back. "Between us, we might build a wall that doesn't fall," he says. It isn't a compliment. It isn't not one. "Between us," I say. We don't say more. Too many words and the building thinks we're trying to name something big. The ridge finally decides to be honest. The first drops hit the gutter like coins. Inkanyamba uncoils once. Far out, a bird made of lightning tests a seam in cloud and comes back for later. The radios wake politely one after another. Doors, beds, vents, registry. The aunties put lids on pots and on stories. On the board in the dining hall, Khumalo writes the evening so far in a straight spine. Huag. Bright room I.O., Lindy way, reset successful, vent line cut, evidence bagged. Back door, AA Zakele Hadeda, reversed, bin mouth. Kitchen, Akona, spoon contained, reset morning. Stairs, new hand knot cut, arrows chalked, do not grab, pairs only. Ceiling sag, marked. No access until maintained. Rule, no second touches during surge. Under it, smaller for students who read small print. If you're bored, you're doing it right. We start the next loop. Chairs, doors, beds, vents, chalk, smoke, mug. The rhythm puts breath back in my ribs. The storm tucks its teeth under the ridge and considers whether we deserve a hard night. In my room, on the top shelf where I put lies when I don't want to flirt with them, the matchbox sits at an angle. I didn't leave it like that. I don't touch it. Not tonight, I tell it. Voice small enough that only my mouth hears. Bzz. The wind through the downspout tries my name on. It doesn't fit. We keep moving. We are boring, and that is our knife. Part 4. When weather tries a door. The first fat drops land on the quad like someone counting with coins. The ridge turns a shoulder. The downspouts clear their throats. We begin the evening loop again. Registry, kitchen, laundry, doors, beds, vents. Because that is what keeps rooms honest when sky decides to be a person. Radio chirp. 2 short, 1 long. Roof. Then the AA single from the East Steps. We split without speaking. Roof. The first hard pass. The birds come in 4, bright cores wrapped in white fire, beaks like knives. They love the panel hum and hate Thondi's flat. She smothers the tone until the lights admit they are furniture. The first bolt dives for the corner seam. Kwanda sets a mug under it. Bowl of stay, the exact size of a mistake. The charge crawls his radius, wakes the sun crack bright, and runs obedient into the iron chain Boosie has clamped to ground. Immed. 3 left, he says, counting without drama. Second bird tries my throat. I warn and pinch the iron string. Bone skin, no entry. The call for mouth finds no where it wanted yes and spills to gutter. Third bird wheels off the stairwell. Sipho blows a thin seam of smoke up the shaft. Smoke and lightning quarrel as usual. Iron wins. The fourth bird is clever. It feints for the panel and then slashes for the handrail bolts. Metal that leads into the conduit behind the wall where we drew string this afternoon. Left, I say. Me. It's aiming for the pipe. Right, Kwanda answers. Him. He widens the mug a finger width, enough to catch the slash without bragging. Boozy slams her iron clamp lower on the rail, past the junction where the fake gut string runs. The bolt hits mug, crawls Kwanda's arm, lights the crack, meets the new clamp, hisses itself tired into proper ground. The birds peel off in a sulk. We don't celebrate. We log roof, 4 routed. Rail clamp moved below conduit. Then we run for the East Steps because the AA chirp is still going. East Steps, the cat and the mouth. A cat streaks in panic along the lowest landing. Collar tag, bright person with ZZ scratched in by a safe hand. The laundry chute mouth at the turn gleams metal where a please keep clear sign has been peeled off. Not a mouth is gone. It should not be gone. Ring, I call on habit and rule. Outside, mouth only, 10 counts. I warn even as I move. Mug, Kwanda says, already sliding a bowl of stay under the arc the cat will run. Sipho sets smoke low for calm, not sleep, Boosie chalks. Not a mouth across the lip with letters thick enough to trip a god. I pull the chutes inside into a picture of sky. Cold, high, not for pause. ZZ leaps, meets picture, refuses to believe in art, plants her feet on mug, walks the saucer path Kwanda gives her back to the safe side. On 10, I let the mouth be a mouth again, but a chalked one. It sulks. Who wiped it? Boosie says, thumb already gray with dust. A smear of clear polish shines at the edge of the metal where chalk should hold and struggles. Bags, evidence, eyes tired, routine that refuses to become theater. Naledi arrives with 2 sun girls and a borrowed torch. You promised boredom, she tells me, as if I cheated at a quiet. I promised rules, I say, and point at the chalked lip. Read those. She looks past me, past the chalk, to Kwanda, and moves on without answering the writing. That's its own answer. Kitchen. The candle that should not be lit. Backdoor auntie waves us in with a spoon. You check the chapel, she says. The little ones took candles for avigility. They like fire when it rains. Candles are I.O. if they want to be, Boosie mutters. Bad. We find it in the side chapel. A pillar candle, clean and white. A thin bracelet nip ring on the wax near the base where fingers must have tried to hold two hands together and the rule objected. Someone has set it on a saucer and laid matches by it with the kind of reverence that kills. Ein. Don't touch, I say, too loud for a chapel. Person. Thandi chalks, person, on the rim of the saucer and ticks the box like a verdict. Sipho cups smoke low over it. Boosie draws a ring on the tiled floor because even churches need ugly circles. Not wax, I tell it, careful. Person who doesn't want to be burned. I.O.s are stubborn. The candle listens without moving. It shifts meaning a hair's width toward now and stops, sulking. We don't yank. We write reset in mourning on a card and slide it under the saucer. Someone had written Tommy on the prayer list and underlined it twice. I add no flames next to his name because sometimes grief needs orders. In the narthex, a pair of second years hover, bracelets not glowing but eyes hot. We just wanted to make it nice, the girl says. Nice as knives you sharpen for free, Boosie says, not unkind. Go sleep. They go. Laundry, staircase strings grow hands. Earth night stands at the ringed step. 2 pairs, shears up, limestone dust caught in knuckles. The hair we caged is gone. Not cut. Gone. The chalk rings sit empty like mouths that forgot their teeth. Where? Boosie asks the floor. I feel it in my teeth before I see it. A new knot tied neat at the handrail elbow. The place people automatically grab at a stumble. It's been baited with a thin smear of clear polish to make skin slide sweet then stick. The kind of clever that only comes from hands that study hurry. Arrows, now, Boosie says. We chalk do not grab earth on the elbow itself. Letters ugly, big, loud. Thandi flatlines the hum. Sipho smokes the air so whatever is sticky loses interest. I do not go outside. Kwanda sets a mug a palm away from the knot to catch recoil. Boosie snips inside a dust curtain. The knot pings. The polish shines like gilt in the light. The mug takes the snap. The charge crawls Kwanda's forearm. The sun crack flashes and cools. We bag the knot. We chalk the rail like we're swearing at it. We are. A first year comes round the bend too fast, sees chalk, stops so suddenly his shoes squeal. Hawu, he says, a little sick. I nearly... You didn't, Boosie says. Write small on your shoe. He does. Defense corridor. The partial that nearly learned to be paper. The PP siren goes. 3 quick, 1 long from the defense wing. We run. A moon boy and a water boy. Wrong tonight. Stand too close under the training lights. The boy on the left is going glassy around the mouth and nose. You can see the shine in his breath like a window you're not supposed to touch. Partial phase. Paper lungs. Coming. The other boy's shadow has begun to detach. Ring, I say, warn. Unname inside only. Yeah. Boosie chalks the circle around their shoes. Ugly and whole. Sipho feeds smoke in slow. Water's cousin standing near. Thandi smothers the hum to flat until the room remembers to be a room. Kwanda puts a mug where breath meets skin. Stay for lungs on both boys. A saucer for air. Not glass, not paper, I tell their edges. People who borrow air and give it back. Names in their mouths. You talk now, not thing. I.O. hates now. PP listens when grammar is stubborn. The shine on the boy's mouth thickens, flickers. The shadow wavers back toward shoes. The bracelets on both wrists glow yellow, then cool. We do not touch. We say again like a drum. People, I say, come back. The shine goes slick then skin. The shadow sits where shoes are. Both boys shake in the proud way you do when you don't want to cry in a place that has floors. Ugh. Separate on glow, Miss Haddabe says from the doorway even. They nod like boys who will forget tomorrow and remember again the day after. Musa writes PP averted. Ring present, worn heard. Sun at breath in a square that looks like a promise he is capable of keeping for once. Bright room wall. The string inside the plaster pulls. On our next loop, past the bright room, the chalk string we wrote across the wall looks thicker. It shouldn't. Chalk doesn't fatten unless hands help it. Don't, Boosie tells me without looking at my mouth. She knocks the baseboard with a knuckle. The note under the paint is wrong. Twang with memory. De Klerk fetches the stud finder like a priest with a bell. The path pings steady from 7B's cabinet to the conduit. Not hair. Gut. Whoever laid it meant it to carry more than talk. Kwanda sets his palm on plaster. No pressure, just knowing. The sun crack on his arm hums a little white hum, as if agreeing with something I don't want him to agree with. You hear him? I ask, low. I hear something that learned to sound like him, he says, and pulls his hand back like the wall is unclean. Khumalo looks at the cabinet. She doesn't unlock it. We mark. We do not open, she says. If he wants to use a wall, he can argue with paint. Boosie writes no overstring in letters a child could read. Then she writes, not a mouth, a second time, because it makes her feel better. It makes me feel better, too. The ledger on the shelf turns a page by itself. No wind. No hands. It isn't a show. It's a reminder. I look away before it learns I am willing to listen. The almost sabotage that would have made soup. On the way to kitchen checks, a junior bursts from the scullery door with a tray, trips, and throws his hands up. The tray tilts. On it, a bowl of chopped tomatoes, a neat person tag on top, chalk mark person clean, tidy in Boosie's hand. Moved from a board to a bowl just the way we told them never to do. The whole story about Tommy races to the front of my mouth. Mug, Kwanda says, palm under the bowl under the bowl. The tomatoes slide into a stay instead of floor. Thandi slaps her hand on the power switch for the waste grinder. Off, in case the fall turns into a roll into a mouth. Sifo plucks the tag off with tongs like it's a leech. Boosie scrubs the chalk off tomato with a rag until red is red. Not person. Who moved it? She asks the room. The junior shakes so hard you can see his molars knock. It was there, on the board, like you said, I thought. You thought wrong, and then you told the truth with your hands, Boosie says softer. Good. Khumalo appears as if she lives behind the door. Tag travel trap, she says, tapping the Chinagraph line we wrote earlier. If you move a tag to kill a person, you are done here. If you move a tag because you are stupid, you get educated, and you will chop onions until your grandchildren marry. Yes, ma'am, the junior says, crying now because sometimes crying is smarter than pride. We put the bowl in a crate because I don't trust it anymore. We chalk person on the new board and ticket for their hands to see later. The aunties hum like kettles in agreement. At the back, the candle sits dark on its saucer with reset in mourning tucked under it like a prayer we might answer. The rule that almost breaks. On our way past the east landing, a ceiling panel finally gives up and drops. Not a heavy one. A small square of cheap composite and dust. I flinch. So does he. We both reach out. We both stop a hair from second touch. The panel hits the floor and shatters with a tired scritch. Dust blooms and then decides to be air again. Left, I say, a fraction late, hating the heat in my face. Right, he says, equally late. He could make it into a point, he doesn't. He nods once. The sun crack on his arm pulses and cools like the muscle agreed to be a grown-up. Thank you, I say, which is a sentence that can do more work than drama on nights like this. Sighing. Keep your mouth, he says. It is not rude, it is the rule. We chalk calm maint on the gap and resist the urge to stare upward, because staring at holes is how holes learn your name. Bored, before the next pass. In the dining hall, Khumalo writes the night so far in sentences that carry weight like buckets. Roof, Impundulu routed. Rail clamp below conduit. No conduction along string path. East steps, ZZ recovered. Chute mouth, clear polish bagged. Chapel, I.O., candle contained. Reset morning, no flames. Laundry, handrail not cut, do not grab. Arrows chalked, evidence bagged. Defense wing, PP averted. Ring present, sun at breath. Unname inside ring only. Scullery, tag travel trap. Bowl intercepted, grinder off. Bright room, string marked, do not open, paint tool. Then smaller for the ones who read small lines. No second touches during surge. Ask for the first. Decline the second. Live. I stand there with chalk still on my fingers and feel the iron at my throat behave like it belongs to me. Across from me, Kwanda flexes his hand once. The sun crack stays dim. His mouth almost smiles in a way only I would notice and he would deny. We finish the loop, Boosie says, tapping her list like a drum. Then chairs, then sleep. If the storm wants to try the door, we will be boring about it. Naledi walks past the board and reads the small line twice. She doesn't look at me. She looks at him and then at the word live and then back at him. Her face says, wait. Waiting is also a weapon. We go back into the hall that smells like hot dust and onions and old books and rules. The ridge clears its throat again. The downspouts answer. Somewhere inside the wall, the gut string shifts by the width of a hair, as if he, whoever he is now, leaned his weight on the wrong part of himself. We do not hurry. We loop. Part 5. The night learns our names. The rain stops pretending and arrives like a cousin who talks too loud. Gutters gulp. Thunder counts wrong on purpose. We take the loop one more time because repetition is how you convince rooms they don't get to improvise. Radio, Morph AA at West Quad. PP at the library stacks. Tamper ping. Laundry elbow again. Roof hum thinking thoughts. We split like a hand. West Quad 3 saves in the space of a breath. Under the jacaranda, a stray dog growls at its own paws. Orange person tag. Nam fundo, someone's shaky handwriting and a heart dot over the I, which tells you too much about their day. Bleh. Short circle, Boosie says, chalk already finding the ground. Sipho's smoke low. Kwanda makes the mug beside the dog, not over. I warn and say the small thing. Not dog, person wearing fur. The collar clinks. Fur rolls back into coat. Namfundo sobs into a towel and then laughs because shame and relief like to visit together. A shout from the bike rack. A frog with a person tag. Tabiso is halfway under a wheel. Mug, chalk, smoke. Repeat. Not frog, I tell it. Tabiso returns wet and swears at the sky in a way that feels like prayer. We're turning away when a car guard's umbrella, cheap blue, ribs showing, tilts in the wind. An orange tag flaps at the handle. Ayanda, IOs that try to be helpful are the most dangerous kind. Crate, Boosie says. She slaps not a mouth on the metal drain by the path because mouths love umbrellas. We do not unname. We wrap the umbrella like a person and write, reset morning big because morning teaches stubborn things to behave. Thunder laughs at us from above Newton's laws. We refuse to be interesting for its benefit. Nana. Library stacks paper lungs. In the long aisle between history and myths of the region, a boy's skin has gone glassy along the jaw and cheeks. His breath makes a slick sheen in front of his mouth. Partial phase, paper lungs, again. The girl with him backs away with her hands out like surrender. Her bracelet is yellow and cooling. Ring, I say, warn. Boosie chalks the circle. Sifo lays smoke sideways so the boy turns toward ordinary air. Thandi flattens the room's hum until even the books admit they are not prophets. Kwanda sets a mug at the seam where breath meets skin. Not paper, I tell the shine. Person who borrows air and gives it back. Name in his mouth. He gags once, the way you gag when a sweet goes down wrong, and then breath catches correctly. The slick on his mouth collapses into sweat. The girl's hands shake so hard she rattles the shelf. The books behave. Nobody becomes a story by accident tonight. Musa writes PP averted and, for once, thank you in the margin so small only guilt would notice it. Laundry elbow, the line grows patience. Earth Knight has the handrail elbow ringed in chalk. The knot we bagged earlier has a twin. Smaller, neater, almost dainty. It's been dusted with what looks like talc but smells like cheap clear polish. Pretty traps are the worst. Arrows, Boosie says. We draw them at hand height and knee height because panic is tall and short in the same minute. Thandi sets the hum to boring. Sifo fogs the air thin so adhesive forgets to charm skin. Kwanda sets a mug where a snap wants a face. Boosie snips inside dust. Mean little ping. The crack along Kwanda's radius flares and cools. Bag it, label it, move. You see the handwriting? Thandi whispers. The tag that was moved earlier, the fake neatness, is here in the knot's neatness. Now Letty's choir girl script gone knife. Evidence is not proof, Boosie says, but it is weight. We keep stacking weight. We chalk don't grab the size of a shirt on the wall. Ugly saves. Roof the birds learn our routine. The Impundaloo come back with a friend. 5 cores of lightning knife down, furious. Thandi's flat is waiting. The first bolt rides Kwanda's mug to the iron. The second goes nosing for my throat. I pinch and say bone, skin, no entry. The third tries the stairwell. Smoke tells it to mind elders. It obeys. The fourth goes for the rail again. Boosie's clamp sits below the gut string conduit like a lien on a greedy estate. Charge goes to debt, not to drama. The fifth bird decides to be new. It aims for the flag halyard cleat. Metal loop bolted into masonry. That ties into the same conduit run we marked string. Someone clever told it where our wall is thin. Left, I say. Me. The itch in my jaw is thick tonight. Right, he says. Him. He puts a mug there before lightning remembers its own name. The bolt hits bowl, runs his bones, wakes the sun crack into a little branch from wrist toward thumb. Thumb. He doesn't drop his hand. He asks, permission? Quiet, because we're both human tonight. Yes, I say, though it costs us. He shifts his stand one step closer, nothing wasted, and the mug holds the bolt like a bar stool holds a drunk. It runs to iron, sulks, is done. The birds peel off. The sky counts wrong again. We count right, because counting right is how poor people live under gods. We log roof. 5 routed, new branch on suncrack. We do not draw it on him with our eyes. That would be cruelty. Chapel registry grief tries to be an excuse. In the side chapel, the candle with the bracelet nip sits as we left it. Dark, patient, insulted by the card that says, reset morning. A trio of first years kneel awkwardly, whisper our fathers at Tommy's name. One of them slides a matchbook toward the saucer like an apology she wants to be accepted. Don't, I say, quieter than a scold, louder than a suggestion. He doesn't need to burn to count. They nod, they take the matchbook and the apology and fold both into their pockets. That is how adult starts. At registry, Zizi sleeps, collar bright. Ayanda, still umbrella, is wrapped. Nom Fundo signed out human. Lindiwi sits on the cot, hair damp, sweater swallowing her, sipping tea like a hammer holds a wall up. Esona the spoon stares out through the crate slats like cutlery considering a degree. We write our lines and try not to smile at the soap rule poster someone drew with a little cartoon bar wearing sunglasses. We are allowed to be stupid about safe things sometimes. The office window latch dust shows one new arc. Touched, no open. The dust is doing the job we hired it for. Evidence is boring. We celebrate boring. So I'll say. East Corridor. The fight we almost invited. The corridor does that tilt it does when a room wants a scene. Two band kids, sun and moon, drift too close in the crook of the L-bend where supervisors can't see at a glance. Their bracelets glow yellow and stay there, naughty amber, not red. They aren't stupid, just hungry. Separate, I say from 3 paces. You know the math. Leave us alone, the boy says, the kind of brave that gets you a scar in the shape of a lesson. Thandi shows her badge. Separate on glow, she says, looking bored on purpose. Bored saves. The girl steps back a handspan. The boy does not. He tilts his chin like a dare. The yellow warms. I feel the urge to show them with a trick, to yank the floor outside under his shoes for 1 count, so he feels cliff and chooses ground. The iron at my throat hums. No. Small, I say to my own mouth. We do it small. Kwanda puts his palm up at chest level, 10 paces away from both of them, not touching air, not holding anything, only showing. Bowl of stay, he says, quiet. A saucer of don't forms in the air between their ribs and their pride. They step into less without knowing it. Not closer, not farther, just not an edge. The yellow cools. I let the breath out. No outside needed. Rule paid. We move. Naledi had been watching from the door to the girls' shower, where leaders like to lurk because it makes them look ready. She's seen it and doesn't clap, because she doesn't clap for our kind of magic. Your tricks are furniture, she says. I prefer doors. Doors need houses, Busi answers, and the floor appreciates her enough to hold. Gidi, the drain that says a name. Between Residence B and the admin block, the central courtyard drain bellies with rain. It coughs a green bead the size of a pea and spells a name that isn't mine, then mine, then mine. Mamlambo is impatient. D. Not tonight, I tell the drain, chalking not a mouth across the lip so hard the chalk breaks. You wait your turn? The bead rolls to my shoe, stops, thinks about being a promise. I toe it into the chalk line. It sizzles and goes out like a bad thought. Yeah. Sifo lays smoke over the grate like a blanket over a drunk uncle. Later, he tells the river. We'll cook for you later. If gods can scowl, the drain does. Then, the ledgers and the rail, his voice tries again. We pass the bright room. The chalk string on the wall looks blacker, as if chalk can go to mourning. The ledger on the shelf turns a page by itself, with the small noise paper makes when it changes its mind. From the rail along the stair, the voice that isn't a rail tries again, this time honest as it gets. Boy, bigger holds or they break. Ask the hole to open. I'll carry it. Kwanda slows. His face doesn't change. The sun crack in his arm brightens a hair's width. He doesn't reach for me. He has learned the price of one touch. You hear it? I say, not a question. I hear that he thinks he is a we, he says, and the nouns in that sentence are heavy, even if he doesn't hand them to me. I put my mouth on the iron string and say to the rail, not a mouth. Help down, not up. The voice laughs like copper does when it remembers it used to be ore. We keep walking. We finish the loop. We log our lines. We choose to be alive in the morning. We put chairs in thresholds and face the hall. The storm paces like a dog on a porch. The iron at my throat behaves. The crack under his skin rests. Price holds, he asks from my doorway, hand on the frame. No second touch. Price holds, I say. Breathe, he says. Breathe, I say. We do. Part 6. The price. We pay. The hour before dawn is when rooms try their last cleverness. People are tired. Rules are soft. The sky has finished being a sermon and wants to be a secret again. Radio, roof hum creeping. Laundry ping without panic. Registry check. We rise because getting up is cheaper than regret. Registry at 4:10, a line in the cloth. Zizi is asleep with one paw over her face. Lin Diwi dozes with a mug cupped in both hands like a saint holding a relic. Akona. The spoon is still spoon. Wrapped, sulking, wait until morning stubborn. Boosie lifts the crate cloth to check the tag knot and freezes. A strand of fishing line has been sewn into the hem, finished off with a tiny clear glue bead. Pull here and you pop the lid when you mean to be kind. Someone smart, Thandi says, not meaning it as praise. Someone who wants us to not check'ems when we're tired, Boosie says. She cuts inside dust. The line pings and lies. Khumalo arrives in slippers and a jacket like a law. She looks at the line. She does not sigh. She bags it. We are not going to make ourselves stupid just because a child wishes it, she says to the air. The window latch dust is clean where it should be messy. Someone wiped it and then tried it. That's an admission, not a victory. We redust. We write dust decor on the log because humor is cheaper than despair. Roof at 4:30, the wrong hum. The panel hum is not a tone. It's a thrum, like a bass line you feel in your knees at taxis. That's not the room. That's the conduit behind the rail, our chalk string, picking up weather it didn't earn. Thandi flattens the panel until the lights almost go asleep. The thrum stays. Then, Boosie puts her ear to the plaster in the bright room. The gut string vibrates under paint like a vein carrying a pulse to a limb that doesn't know it's asleep. We don't cut walls, Khumalo says, calm. Then we starve them, Boosie says. We get the lime wash buckets from maintenance, the ugly kind used for mildew. Earth and water mix it 3 fingers thick until it's a paste that smells like chalk and promise. We paint the wall from skirting to lintel. Heavy, sloppy, a coat that makes string a dirty secret inside a sack. Lime is not iron. It is not smoke. It is simply disinterest. Magic hates disinterest. Thandi hums flat while we paint. The thrum dulls a little, like a drum with a pillow in it. Kwanda stands with his palm on the wall, not pushing, only knowing, and the sun crack along his radius brightens and cools, like a nerve testing itself. From the rail. Boy, let the hole be a door. I'll take it. No. Kwanda says out loud for the first time. The word is small. It is perfect. The rail sulks. The thrum goes from wrong to annoying. We accept annoying. East corridor, a second price almost spent. We're halfway down the corridor when the ceiling sag we chalked call meant yesterday thinks it's clever. The panel slides, drops in a slow, molded curve. A false mouth. Dust and a handful of grit fall like a promise of teeth. Eyes. The second touch rule is a hot wire between us. We both feel it when we both step in. We both stop. This is what practice is for. Left, I say. Me. Warn. Right, he says. Him. Mug. I pull outside around the falling panel only. Not the hall, not us, not space beyond. Just a picture for the composite to land in so it thinks it has finished being interesting. It drops quiet into the idea of a floor. Mug under it keeps the dust from panicking the stupid. Boosie stomps the panel with her heel once it's down, rude, and the room decides to be embarrassed instead of theatrical. We breathe. We do not touch twice. This costs more than it sounds like it costs. Naledi appears at the bend with 2 girls. She sees our paws and files it under weapons. You'll fail at the second touch one night, she says, mild. Then we'll see who pays. We already pay, I say. We pay boring. No one likes a safe story, she says. I don't write for you, I say. She looks at Kwanda. His face is a wall. She leaves the sentence unspoken like a dress she'll wear later. Laundry the hand that learns. The handrail elbow is clean. Arrows intact. The knot doesn't return. That is nearly worse. At the bottom step, near the mixer tap, a new trap waits. Not a string. A loop of line around the tap head tied to the hand wheel. If you turn it in a hurry, the loop pulls the hand wheel into the on position, then tightens around the hand that turned it. Water is not a mouth, but a human hand with a line biting can be a problem. Arrows, Boosie says. Ugly. We chalk turn slow and check for line around the tap in letters the size of Naletti's ego. Sifo tapes the loop with blue painter's tape, then cuts inside a dust cloud. It pings. The line lies in the basin like a dead hair. Who teaches the hands? Thandi asks. The same person who learned to tie knots while everyone else learned to clap, Boosie says. We bag the loop. We add gloves to the sink like a sermon with fingers. The storm's last idea, a mouth at the drain. At 5:20, the courtyard drain tries one more stunt. The chalk, not a mouth, has washed thin. The grate lifts a finger width, enough to talk, but not enough to commit. I've been good all night. My jaw has been obedient. My friends have kept me a person. The iron under my throat warms with an idea. The ledger on the shelf at the far end of the hall turns a page. The rail says boy in a voice that isn't a rail. Ring, I say, and the word feels like a mouth finding teeth. Warn, Kwanda says, ready. Outside only in the throat, I say, small. 10 counts. Proceed, Khumalo says from behind us. She does not ask if we're sure. She knows we are not. She knows we are anyway. Boosie chalks a ring around the grate. Ugly, permanent. Thandi flattens hum. Sifos smoke low. Mug over the lip. I take the inside of the pipe and turn it into sky for 10. Not water, not history, not a river given a name by centuries. Just air. For 10, nothing comes up. Mamlambo can't swim sky. On 10, I stop. The pipe catches its breath and hisses a promise. Boosie slaps not a mouth again so hard the chalk breaks. The drain stands down like a teenager told no by someone who means it and loves them. The iron welt under my collar pulls hot, then cools like a badge. The sun crack along Kwanda's forearm branches again, thin as a whisker toward the wrist. We inventory the price in silence. We stand up like people who can still stand. Rule holds, Kwanda says, looking at my throat, but not into it. Rule holds, I say, looking at his arm, but not through it. We don't touch twice. We want to. We don't. Bored at dawn, we write it so it stays. By first light, the storm has a hangover and a grudge. The sky turns a tired gray. The gutters yawn. Inca Nyamba curls back under the ridge with the sulk of a child sent to bed. Impundulu perch somewhere else, complaining about our iron. The building licks its teeth in memory and finds chalk. In the dining hall, Khumalo writes in thick pen. Registry 410. Fishing line hem cut, crate cloth. Window dust reapplied, dust decor. Roof 430. Thrum in conduit, lime wash applied to string wall. Thrum dampened. No opening 7B. East corridor, ceiling panel dropped. Outside, panel only. Mug. No second touches observed. Laundry, tap loop trap cut. Gloves added, arrows turn slow. Courtyard drain 520. Ring outside, throat only. Mamlambo denied, chalk renewed. Roof, Impundulu routed. New branch on Suncrack, Zulu. Witness welt stabilized, and Thembu. Under it, the part that matters. Rule, no second touches during surge. Ask for the first, decline the second. Live. Paint is a tool. Boring is a tool. Chalk is a tool. Use them. If the building asks you to be interesting, remember Tommy. Musa adds a small square. Evidence. Filed clip, clear polish, fishing line knots, sex 3. Handrail elbow photos, tap loop. Underneath, student welfare posters collected. Discipline hearing after sleep. Naledi reads the board with a face like a clean plate. She does not blink when she sees discipline. She pockets her phone without checking if anyone messaged. That is control, and it is frightening. She passes Kwanda and does not look at him. That is control too. It is also a kind of grief for a person who can't name it. The bill on our bodies. We wander out into a morning that smells like wet concrete and saved lives. Our friend group leans against the wall by Residence A like scaffolding after a storm. Throat? Sifo asks me. Sore, I say. Not a complaint, an invoice. Arm? Boosie asks him. Crack's got branches, Kwanda says. Still wire, not light. Not boasting, not brave. Inventory. Thandi taps the clipboard with no singing scrawled on the back. I want a nap and then fresh tape, she says. Everyone nods. Tape and naps are how empires are run. Khumalo comes up quiet and looks at us as if we were books you lend to people you love and expect back in good condition. You kept the rules and paid fair, she says. That keeps the school alive. Not talent, not courage, fair payment. We don't know what to do with praise that practical. We stand there and let it be true. Go, she says. Chairs, face the hall, sleep. If someone calls you a hero in a dream, hand them a broom. Sass, we go. We put chairs in thresholds. We sleep like people who did not buy death on credit. The ledger on the shelf somewhere turns a page by itself and writes nothing. The rail hums once and stays a rail. The drain remembers its manners. Yunda. Before I drift, a text from an unknown number arrives in a tone nobody uses. Ah, you opened the throat. Good girl. I don't reply. I put the phone screen down the way we were taught. I close my eyes. Behind them, a man's hands that are not a man's hands tie a knot in midair and hand me the end of it. I let it fall. It does not break. It does not catch. It is only line. I sleep,